Hello, good people. Karibuni sana to another episode of Njeri's Shenanigans. But today we are talking about something serious, and I believe at the end of this talk you're going to benefit by what we shall be talking about. And I believe, we all know something about something, but we don't know the exact details about that thing. But anyway, on today's show or on today's episode, I shall be teaching you about sickle cell traits, and sickle cell anemia. Those are three different things, and we need to understand that. But because of the little education and the knowledge we have right here, I believe most of us don't know, like, literally what is sickle cell, what is sickle cell anemia, and what are sickle cell traits. But anyway, karibuni sana. I hope you're going to enjoy with me right here. Well, since I told you we're all talking about sickle cell, first of all, what is sickle cell? What are sickle cell traits? And what is sickle cell anemia? Because we all mistaken sickle cell disease from sickle cell traits. And sickle cell is not actually a disease, but we have sickle cell anemia that comes from now not being able to manage sickle cells or your sickle cell traits. Yes, that is where we get sickle cell disease. If you're not able to manage your sickle cell traits, you get sickle cell anemia. But what are sickle cell traits? Sickle cell traits is a benign condition in which the affected individual has only one abnormal hemoglobin called beta gene allele or allele according to your English teacher. Yes. But the question is, am I supposed to be worried if I come from a family where people have sickle cell traits or people have sickle cell? You know, most people right here in Africa tend to mistaken sickle cell to a disease, to a very harmful disease, and also it comes with a lot of stigmatization. You know, I grew up in a place where I've had people saying these hereditary diseases are curses. But imagine, no, you're about to learn something interesting about having sickle cell traits, having sickle cell. And if you're able to manage sickle cell, you're not actually like sick. You are somewhere safer than any one of us right here. Let me surprise you with something. Do you know that sickle cell was used to treat malaria? Yes, that's what I mean. Anyway, in ancient Africa, being born with sickle cell traits was actually a very good thing that signified that your ancestors were protecting you, because people who were born with sickle cell traits were better able to survive malaria and pass on the changed gene to their children. Can you imagine? Like, this comes as a good thing, and I don't know why so many people like get worried when they go to the hospitals and they are told you have sickle cell, you know, or you're born at a family where people have sickle cell. You're like, man, now you're worried about getting sickle cell. But anyway, I believe it's because of the docility and the little knowledge we get from even school, because if even doctors knew that sickle cell traits is not something to be afraid of, they wouldn't even be telling you as it's like a big thing. But anyway, I believe the reason they take it seriously is because we have rotten eating habits. We have very poor like diets. And I believe that is why they take it so serious. But anyway, yes, just like I said, sickle cell traits were used to treat malaria in the ancient African history. Today, People with the sickle cell trait have it because it was helpful to their ancestors a long time ago. Yes, people with the sickle cell trait have it because it was helpful to their ancestors. And you know, we just disgrace having sickle cell, right? We don't love it. Nobody's proud to have sickle cell. But imagine your ancestors are looking at you. They were like, they are watching you, and this is the reason they passed the genes to protect you. Imagine it was made all to protect you. By the way, imagine sickle cell is an African people problem. Did you know that? Of course you didn't. But anyway, with the aid of Google, I bet you can Google this. Carriers of sickle cell trait. This is a heterozygotes who carry one HBS allele. Yes, we talked about allele one more time. This is the hemoglobin beta gene. It's called the HBS. And one normal adult hemoglobin have some resistance to the often fatal malaria caused by Plasmodium falciparum. That's what. Wasayansi jameni, these terms are so hard for me. But anyway, lazima tuzisome hapa hivi. Just like I said, sickle cell is an African problem, and sickle cell disease affects millions of people throughout the world, and it's particularly common among those whose ancestors come from sub-Saharan African. And with this, I mean African people. Like, you would find maybe a Caucasian with a sickle cell or a sickle cell traits, but this can be explained scientifically. And okay, I'd try to explain this to you. If this person has any African gene, it's most likely that one of their kin might get sickle cell anemia. And I don't know if you're getting me, but let me try and explain it in a different way. Unaona, seme mzungu ameoa Muafrika, and then they have a child. This child is a mulatto, so this child is carrying different genes in their body. So with the African genes in them, anaweza pata the sickle cell. Yes, this is how Caucasians get sickle cell, but it's definitely 100% an African problem. And people with the sickle cell trait enjoy normal lifespans with no medical problems. Imagine. But in Africa, it's otherwise. It's opposite. Why is it like that? We shall get to know that. And just like we said, sickle cell trait genes are hereditary. And one thing is, should you be worried if you're born with the sickle cell traits? Sickle cell trait doesn't usually cause health problems, but unlike what I said, or unlike what we see in Africa, most people in Africa, they believe that this is a very serious disease and it means death, and there's a lot of stigmatization that comes with this. And this is so crazy because one, I believe we don't have the right education to know that this is not actually a disease. It's not something we should be worried about. And the reason I believe now it becomes a disease because I told you about having sickle cell traits and not being able to manage them. Of course, you'll get sickle cell anemia. So the reason you get sickle cell anemia, you're not able to manage it. You're not taking the right diet. You're not you're not consuming the right things that you're supposed to be consuming as a sickle cell trait carrier. So what is actually sickle cell disease? But I told you it's a disease that comes out of now having sickle cell traits and not being able to manage them. But it's a blood disorder where red blood cells are curved instead of being round, and the curved cells can get stuck in and block small blood vessels. Sickle cell becomes a disease when it's not managed, and by managing I mean the right diet, just like I said. So what is the correct diet for sickle cell traits? Because I told you, you only get this if you're not able to manage your sickle cell traits. And by managing, I mean diet. One, people with sickle cell traits, or people that comes from a background where they know very well they have sickle cell traits, you should avoid very strenuous exercise. And by strenuous exercise, I mean you should avoid those exercises when you exercise, you feel like you're running out of oxygen. Exercise like a normal person. Don't run out of oxygen. Don't run out of air. The second thing, you should avoid alcohol and smoking. Yes, 100%. Avoid a lot of acidity in your body. Yes, African people are supposed to eat alkaline foods, not acidic food. Eat a lot of fruits. This is for everyone. Manze, normalize eating a lot of fruits. We keep on saying an apple a day keeps the doctor away. Drink a lot of water because it helps to keep your blood flowing smoothly. Okay, also normalize eating a lot of vegetables and grains. I mean, be African again. And being African again, I mean you have to leave all the westernization, everything that came with the West or with the Western people. And with this I mean, quit alcohol. That is not something that African people used to drink, because you've seen back in the days, these people used to use sickle cell to fight malaria, and nobody would get sick. Akukwana is a blood transfusion. Like nobody would go to the hospital and get a blood transfusion. But right now you have people like being admitted to the hospital monthly because they need a blood transfusion because they have sickle cell anemia. So if you notice that your family is carrying the sickle cell traits, you need to live African life. You need to quit drinking. You need to quit all these things, these foods that came with the West. And I believe we can all do that. According to where we are at, I think it's best if we learn that we have different types of sickle cell. And the first one is called vascular, if I'm pronouncing it according to your literature teacher. We all went through different teachers anyway. So it's most common and very painful, yes, with variable intensity and frequency. Also, it causes swelling of both hands and feet, and it affects children from the age of 6 years, like approximately 6 years, and occurs when sickled red blood cells block blood flow to the point that the tissues become deprived of oxygen. The second type is called aplastic. Yes, aplastic. Not like aplastic. Aplastic. It's one word. Anyway, it's a condition in which the bone marrow of someone with sickle cell suddenly stops producing red blood cells. It causes sudden and severe anemia. And crisis is usually caused by an infection with the parvovirus. And I believe when you know that your sickle cell is at this stage, remember now we're talking about sickle cell disease. If you know that you are at this, or you have this type of anemia, I believe you should be taking a lot of fiber, a lot of fiber. Well, the third type is called as splenic sequestration, and it affects young children. It's an acute drop of hemoglobin of 2 grams per deciliter accompanied by splenomegaly. Yes, Manze, hizi maneno za science zitanimaliza, but hiyo jina ni splenomegaly. Yeah. And the spleen is at particular risk for complications from sickle cell anemia due to its role as a filter of the blood. So mostly this one affects young children, and you would find it at the age of let me not estimate, let me just Google for you that, because we have Google, and I just want to make sure that you guys go and find out if I'm lying to you about sickle cell, because we have all like treated sickle cell so seriously to a point that we don't even know it's actually something that was celebrated in African community. I mean ancient African community. Anyway, let me Google this. Just like I told you, with the aid of Google, you can Google something and get it right. So here it is. I don't know if you can really see this, but splenic sequestration is like, it affects children between the age of 2 months to 4 years. No, here, baby, not a paid partnership though. Anyway, that's it. Yeah, we also have hyperhemolytic crisis, and this is a rare and dangerous complication of sickle cell where the hemoglobin levels drops rapidly. And away from that, we also have different crises. We also have dactylitis, we also have acute chest syndrome, but mostly you will find that the 4 I've named for you, these are the most common ones, especially from the age of 4 months, 2 months, to the age of grown-ups. I mean, hata mtu wako miaka 80. Anyways, so on the case of a hyperhemolytic crisis, this can lead to organ failure and death. In most cases of hyperhemolysis, patients followed a red cell transfusion. And yeah, at this stage, this is why you find now we have a sickle cell patients getting admitted for blood transfusion. But I hope you remember the first one to the fourth one. But away from that, we also have others that are not most common. Anyways, so at the end of this, what do I mean, or why did I decide to wake up and just talk about a sickle cell traits and sickle cell anemia? I believe we have learned something new. We have learned something that we didn't know. We have learned that this was an African problem, and like right now you will find Caucasians with it, but at the end of the day, this means that one of their kin had the African genes. In conclusion, I'd love to urge all of you that didn't know about sickle cell traits, and right now you know from this video, please share the knowledge. And also those people who comes from a background where they have sickle cell traits, don't be afraid because you're carrying sickle cell traits. Just learn how to live an African life, like a normal African life. Like if you go to your grandfathers, but saizi Gen Z babies, grandparents wako miaka 50. Anyway, if you go to the, sijui ni watu kama akina nani wanaweza to advise on how to eat or what diet they used to eat back then, because I believe huwezi kosa, ama through books, through Google, you can get all the information you need. Just make sure you're eating healthy, you're eating a lot of fruits, make sure you're taking a lot of water, and remember, it's not a disease, but the disease comes from if you're not able to manage it. And remember, just like I said, you need to take a lot of grains, a lot of vegetables, a lot of water, and make sure you're avoiding strenuous exercise. And with that, I believe you're good to go, and I believe you can survive whatever comes out your way. And also, for more, you can follow this channel. Tafadhali, please make sure you follow this channel. I'll be sharing a lot of this because I've realized in Africa we don't get the information we need, we don't get the knowledge we need, and also we don't use these search tools to get information. that we actually need. Right now in Kenya, I've seen people getting stigmatized just because they have sickle cell. Imagine watu wanasema uko kwao, that is a curse, just because it's a hereditary disease. Anyways, I hope you learned something, and I'm glad to share this with you, and I'll be back with so much more. So keep it Njeri Katie's channel, and I hope you're going to enjoy when you're watching this. Enjoy watching the video, and thank you very much. If you're new right here, please make sure you subscribe, and if you're a returning subscriber, please make sure you share and keep on showing love. Anyways, adios. Oh.